Hi, and welcome to Conversations with Reverend G. I am Reverend Grenetta Mason, and I'm here every Monday night, Reverend G, on WEMS radio from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And my guests, they come from all walks of life, all different careers and professions. And we come together and we talk about love, we talk about life, and we talk about spirituality. And we talk about spirituality from a practical point of view. How does it support you in your everyday life? And I'm always talking about the spiritual toolkit and what practices do you consistently use that are in your spiritual toolkit. And the spiritual toolkit is very personal and it's different for all of us. So we talk about our spiritual practices and the things that really support us. We hope that you are inspired and that you can share some of the different practices that we talk about. You can find me every day on Facebook as Reverend Grenetta Mason, on Instagram as Rev Grenetta, and on YouTube. And my goal is to support you in living your best life with joy, with grace and ease. And so I come on each week and I hope that you are inspired and that you take something away because we talk about life as it is. Tonight I have a very special guest, Darren Henry. He's a bishop and I know him professionally through my work. So we're going to get together and we're going to talk to you about his spirituality, his spiritual journey, and the work that he does now in the community. Hey, Darren.
Hello, Grenetta. And
How?
I'm on here, Bishop, to my family.
Oh. Bishop, I said what you want me to say, and you said Bishop. So you know me. I
Well,
said
if you're one of my siblings or a cousin, you probably would call me Bishop. So
right.
I wish.
So I was saying how you meet people everywhere, and I know we have a professional relationship. So I
Yes.
don't even talk about the MEOC. So here's the great, and I love the MEOC. I love the mission of the
hmm
EOC. So I don't come on and talk about it. So I feel like this is a great moment, right,
Right.
for you to talk about the BEOC, what it is, how great it is for people, because I think it's like really a great thing that we do, and I'm always looking for opportunities to share and let people know about it. So introduce yourself. I mean, you're a bishop to your family, you're something else to your friends, you're all these
Right.
things, right?
Right.
So introduce yourself, however, and talk about the BEOC and what it does. That whole EOC thing.
Okay, no
Yeah.
problem. First of all, thank you for having me tonight. Truly a blessing. I enjoy talking to you anyway, so this is just like a regular conversation. But yeah, I'm Darren Henry. I'm originally from Western Pennsylvania, in a small town known as Aliquippa. Those who follow football the name would probably ring a bell to you, because it is a very big football country.
Mm.
And we do have people that have made it to the NFL, blah 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 blah. But we produce a lot of great people here. I'm a
Mm.
small town boy with a country accent who somehow made his way to New York and ended up working in Brooklyn. So yeah, I work for the State University of New York Brooklyn Educational Opportunity Center, which is the sister school to Grenetta's school, the Manhattan Educational Opportunity Center, and talk about a life's passion and a life's work. I found that here 20 years ago.
Wow.
It will be 20 years, I believe, in February.
Mhm.
And we're funded by the State University of New York, but We ourselves are administered by CUNY, so I report to City Tech, whereas Grenetta reports to BMCC.
Mhm.
But our sister schools, like in Buffalo and Rochester, they're attached to a SUNY campus. Founded in 1966, and they do great work. So we've been doing tuition-free training long before the Excelsior grant came along.
Right.
And what I love about it is that we really get to change and affect lives of individuals who may otherwise not have found the opportunity, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm, mhm,
I've met a lot of dynamic individuals who did not graduate high school. I met dynamic individuals who graduated high school. I met dynamic individuals that are immigrants and barely spoke English when I first met them.
mhm.
And I can say, wow, after a period of time, whether or not it's 9 months or 16 months, I've literally watched people's lives transform
Mhm,
before my eyes, and I'm like, wow, I was a part of that. know.
mhm,
So we do training in ESL, GED, medical billing, security guard training, OSHA. MELC has similar courses and then a few different courses. And that's what's special about these ELCs. In case you don't know, they do go from Buffalo to Long Island. There's a total of 12.
mhm.
And each kind of focus on a specialty, I guess, you
Yeah,
would say.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, to a degree,
Mhm,
and it's just a life changing. It changed me. I
mhm,
came from, universities and colleges, and some of them were ranked, and it was a different vibe, a different energy going on there.
mhm.
But when I got here, it was like, wow, I'm supposed to be here,
Right. And
and
I
wow, I
see
am
that
really changing
with
lives.
and I just realized today that you've been here for 20 years, right?
Hmm.
And I was like, wow,
Yeah,
20 years of doing this work. And what I think about is talk about some of the impact that it's had in the Brooklyn community, because I know you've gone out and you partner with different organizations
yes.
in Brooklyn, and and talk about some of the different partnerships you've had.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So we partner with our focus is serving those are considered underserved. So low income individuals, individuals who dropped out of high school or just graduated high school, or like I said, English is their second language. Maybe an individual who lost their job, right? Things were going okay and they lost their job. And so they land at an ELC like ours. So I partnered with NYCHA, which was actually a wonderful partnership with the New York City Housing Authority. And that one sticks out to me because when we started partnering with them, um, the, the goal was to get individuals prepped to go into a job training program through NYCHA, where they would be able to find employment with NYCHA upon
Mm,
successful completion. And
mhm.
I will never forget this group because Hurricane Sandy hit on the first day,
Okay.
the
Mhm.
first day of class. So we started out with, I think, 32 students.
Mhm.
And after Sandy, we ended up with 24.
Mhm.
And after the class was over, I think NYCHA ended up taking on 17 of those people.
Mhm.
So still in the midst of it all, there was still a blessing for a group of individuals. And I remember that, like I said, because Hurricane Sandy was, it occurred the very first day. I was like, God, can anything worse happen?
Mhm.
And then we worked with Brooklyn Public Library, where we help individuals prepare for medical billing and coding while earning their GED
Oh,
through Brooklyn Public Library. So that's been in place for, I think we're in our third or fourth year right now.
mhm.
And then organizations like NADAP, which is a part of the NYCHA Alternative Engagement,
Right,
HRA,
right. HRA.
HRA,
Right.
HRA. And
Mhm.
so we've worked with several of them to get individuals trained in security guard and OSHA.
Right.
And just seeing these people, like their lives just take off. They say, oh, it's just security guard. So what? Yeah, but security guard, then the person got promoted on their job maybe six
Mhm.
months or 7 months. I had
Mhm.
one student that came in because she had her GED, because she had the security guard and the fire guard certification, which we prepped for.
Mhm.
When she went for her job interview, because she had all three of those,
Mhm.
they gave her pick of schedule. of work
That's
schedule.
really good. You know what comes to mind when you said that, and we talk about the high school equivalency. I love that we cater to adults too, and the
Mm-hmm.
environment is so great for them to succeed.
Yes.
Yeah, because we hold their hands, we walk them through it, and we make it a great place for them to come and feel
Yes.
comfortable. Right. So
Yeah.
I really, really love the way we do our HSC program. And as adults, because a lot of people, a lot of our students have waited and they have not gotten their
Yes.
high school equivalency. So to be able to come into an environment where they can get it, and we're seeing like great numbers. We were before COVID seeing like really great
Mm-hmm.
success in people passing and getting their high school equivalency. So I love this job for what we do in the mission, right? And as I
Right.
see the people come through, and as you said, the lives that we change. So I'm always
Mm-hmm.
about promoting it. And it's free, and
Mm-hmm.
these
Yes.
programs we cater, we say you have to be educationally and economically disadvantaged, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we also have that 25% rule, yet where
Mm-hmm.
25% of the students you can be over income, and we're willing to, give you a new start. Tell us
Yeah.
your story, and then we'll support you in what's next for you. So
Right.
I've been there 10 years, and I still love the mission and everything
Mm-hmm.
that we do. And you've been there 20 years, so I know you've seen changes. Talk about what you've seen happen now that pre-COVID, COVID hit, and everybody jumped in and did what they had to do. And then now, talk about the transition from pre to COVID till now.
Wow. Well, as an institution, we had to change on a dime, right?
Right.
So instead of that face to face, as we often talked about, Grenetta, people
Mhm.
need to be touched, right?
Yes, they
I,
do.
they need to be touched. If you're going through, you're having challenges, you don't need
Mhm.
anyone barking at you, and
Mhm.
you need people understanding and touching and empathizing with you. I think what happened with the COVID before, we were very hands on, right? Pen and
Mhm.
paper,
Mhm.
right? It was
Yeah.
very archaic, even in 2019, 2020. It was somewhat archaic.
Right,
But we got the
right,
job done, right?
right.
And then when COVID hit, it was a major paradigm shift, right? Things
Mhm.
shifted. And now all of a sudden, there was no face to face conversations with people.
Mhm.
And you were on this thing called Zoom. Like, what
Right.
was a Zoom? I
Yeah.
thought it was the show I watched as a child, right? Come on and Zoom, 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 Zoom. Right? And so I'm like, what is a Zoom, right?
Right, right, right.
And so one of the first things we did, and because I kept going back to that theme that you and I have always talked about this, Grenetta, for years, people need to be touched.
Yes, they do.
So
They want
we called every applicant in the pipeline.
it. Mm.
We
Mhm.
called every to say, first of all, are you okay?
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
And secondly, we're still here and we're going to
Mhm.
be moving online. And when we get ourselves together, we're going to come back to you and
Mhm.
see what we can do with and for you.
Mhm.
Um, the what COVID also did was it exposed or emphasized the digital divide,
Yeah. Mhm.
right? So
Yep. Mhm.
now people didn't have access to the internet on the scale that we needed them to have it. They didn't have access to a laptop or a desktop on the scale that we needed to have them to go to school.
Mhm.
Right.
Right, right,
And and we had got so used to smartphones because the smartphone could do everything for us for the most part.
right.
But you can't be in a medical billing course for 15 weeks on a smartphone.
Right, exactly.
So
Right.
that was tough. And then, so, working with people to get them transitioned, although we weren't able to um, provide laptops and desktops like we would have wanted to, I think. We weren't able to do that. But we also didn't use it as a means, as an expectation that because you don't have there's nothing we can do. right? We always say contact agencies and churches that you're connected with. See if
Okay, you
someone
were
can assist
supporting.
you with that.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't make it. We weren't judgmental with it. You know, hey, if you just can't make it happen when all of this is over, you know, we're still going to be here.
Well,
Um,
we were able to get devices. We were not able to get internet, but
mhm,
like free or internet, but we were fortunate enough to get devices from
beautiful.
BFG, right? And so we still have we give devices too. So when you can
Hmm.
come in and do that, it makes a difference. But it's
Yeah,
still, we saw our numbers just go down.
yeah.
And it's because our population, they need to be touched. You need to
Hmm.
hold their hands, right? And then also there was the whole computer knowledge,
Yes,
right?
yes. Uh-huh.
Now you gotta spend a lot of time trying to teach them how to literally use a laptop or connect and do all
Hmm.
of that. But I think that we did great, like you said.
Yeah.
And you guys were ahead of us, right? Because I always used to say, well, Brooklyn, they're doing this application online and all these things, right?
Yeah.
Because we were like manual as manual can be.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited that we were able to flip that, right? And
Yes.
now the good news is that now we can go forward past the archaic way and
Hmm.
into, although we were forced, now we're able to create a better way of doing it, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that was the good news. And I know that, in time, people will just get used to doing it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because even for us, they were like, our ESL population just totally wiped out. But I
Hmm.
say that also happened because of all the immigration things that were happening.
Yes.
I think I saw
Yes.
that it's not that one factor. There's so many things that
Yes.
happen,
Yes.
right?
Right.
I see all of that. So then they said that they really wanted to be in person. So then we
Hmm.
tried now. Nobody really wants to be in person. It's
Right.
amazing, right? I
Hmm.
think that at first people thought they wanted to be in person, and then they got home and they got a rhythm going and they started to do it in a certain way that they're more opting for remote rather than
Hmm.
in person, right?
Right.
So we do have some in-person programs right now,
Okay.
but the volume is like, I don't think people really want to come in person.
Yeah. Well, we're in a new normal, right?
Yeah, yeah,
We're operating in a way that we couldn't even have imagined 2 years ago, right?
exactly.
Everything being online, a whole application process online, and placement testing online, and
Yeah,
students learning online at a larger volume. You know,
yeah.
there's always been that online presence, right?
Right, right, right,
But particularly with our community and where we work and the population we serve, that wasn't in the menu of options, right? It
right,
was
right. Yeah, right,
in person, pencil and paper, right?
right,
And then when it became a part of the menu of options and a way of life for people,
yeah.
now it's hard to go back. I'm not going to call it a Pandora's box in a negative term, but
Mhm.
we've been exposed to another way of doing business,
Exactly,
learning.
exactly.
And I feel, it should still stay in place to a degree because there is a group that this works for. Me
Right.
personally, I would struggle online because I'm not disciplined
Yeah.
enough.
Right, to go online and do
But for some people, it
it
works.
works. And
Yeah,
that's what we're looking at. Like some
yeah.
people it really works and then others maybe not so much. So we're experimenting with like taking when you take the reading, the math, and the science staying online, but the remedials where you need
Hmm.
help, we're bringing them in house, some of them,
Right.
right? To see how to work that out and to work with people. So I just want to say that I think that the EOCs are great, and what we
Yeah,
do in the community, right, is
they
just
are. You're right.
really, really awesome. And I know that you've been in education. You've been in higher ed since you graduated, right?
Yeah. So
What
since
other
19,
job did you ever have?
none. I worked for the Special Olympics once. That didn't go well. Uh, sorry, I dropped the phone.
Right,
I was a telemarketer.
Right.
And the supervisor said, I just don't think this is going to work for
Work
you.
for you, right?
So that idea of, in essence, begging for money, and then if someone gave you something, then upping it, right?
Right,
Oh,
right,
you can
right,
do
right.
20. How
Yeah,
about 25?
right,
I
right.
couldn't sleep
You
well
can
with
do
that,
more.
although the
Right,
cause was noble. But no,
right.
I've been doing this since 1989. I've worked at large universities,
Mm-hmm.
small universities, private colleges.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well,
and
what
they
kept
all,
you here for 20 years, though? That's interesting, right? That 20 years.
mhm,
What were you? What was the driving factor?
the
That
students,
mm,
the
mm,
students
mm,
being help people in my community that looked like me, who were able to seeing people realize their potential.
mm-hmm,
I really have students that I believe you do too
hmm.
that went from GED to a master's degree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm,
you know where else are
mm-hmm,
you going to get that experience and know that you're a part of it, right? Like, and then
mm-hmm.
they come back and say thank you,
Yeah.
right? I
Mm-hmm,
don't care. You don't have to put a dime in my pocket. You don't
mm-hmm,
got to put a billboard in Times Square. But
mm-hmm,
the thought that they came back and said, I remember when I first met you
mm-hmm,
and you told me I could, and I didn't think I could because I was this and that, and
mm-hmm.
I was told that I was this and that. And I
Right.
always tell people, don't let anyone ever, never let anyone else define you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Don't let anyone define you. So, this Friday, ironically, I had a conversation with a young lady. How we have our agencies that we refer people to us.
Right.
So the young lady, the person referred someone. I was like, God, this name looks familiar because it's a unique name. I said, this
Mm-hmm,
name looks familiar. So I responded and I said, oh, the person needs to do X, Y, and Z.
mm-hmm.
And I said, and thank you for the referral. She said, oh, of course, you guys were an important part of my life when things were going wrong and blah, blah, blah. And because of and she works
Mm.
for the company that was the organization that she referred the student from. So we
Wow.
met on Friday, and she just was singing the praises of the EOCs and how they really changed their life. So I say all that to say, I'm not sure if I would ever have found another job in a career that would allow me to feel so fulfilled, and
Mm.
the reward of knowing lives are changed, families.
Yeah.
Sometimes we've had whole families come through together, and
Right.
you're like,
And I end up adopting a lot of them, right?
yeah,
In terms of,
yeah,
like, you know what I'm saying? In terms of, like, how can I support you? Let me help you move through, right?
yeah,
And I get what you're saying, because I'm passionate about math, so I always, like, I'm
yes,
tutoring, right? I'll tutor if you need math, right? And I find that a lot of the students have struggle with math, right? So
mm-hmm,
I'm pretty much open to just giving them the talk about just do the work, right?
right,
Right? And get over the fear of it, because it's
yes,
like a repetition. Just do the same
uh-huh,
thing 100 times, and then you won't forget it because it doesn't
yeah,
change, right?
mm-hmm,
So it's really working with them in a lot of different capacities, because I do all the HRA stuff. So I hear
mm,
all of the
yes,
stories, right?
mm-hmm,
Every last story, every last thing. And it's just like being there to be able to give people direction, to support them
mm-hmm,
in what's next for them, to hold them high. I have to keep tissues on my desk, because when they used
yeah,
to come in, it was a whole story, right?
yep,
But now I've been there 10 years. I see people from the first years I was there, and they're doing amazing
yes,
things, right?
mm-hmm,
And I get what you're saying about after you see them in their EOC at their breakdown point, wherever
yep,
they are, and then to see them now, it
mm-hmm,
does make you feel like
mm-hmm,
you had a purpose, you had an impact, and you supported them. So
yes.
yeah, that's why I love it there, and I stay, and I want to support it and make sure it's successful. You know.
Yep, same here.
So let's shift a bit and take us on a little journey, your spiritual journey, right? That's
Mm,
what I call it, a spiritual journey. How you grew up, and as you grew, and take us on a little journey to where
okay.
you are
Mm.
now.
My spiritual journey. That's a good one. Um, well, I grew up Kojic, so I grew up in the Church of God in Christ.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah, I
know
grew up.
that. Wow, I still
Yes,
don't
I
know
grew up.
this.
I lived two doors from the church I attended. My parents are. My dad is still there.
Wow.
Yeah, I grew up Church of God in Christ. I wasn't. I wouldn't call myself a holy roller, and I
Well,
wasn't
I would
there.
call you a holy roller, right?
And I wasn't there 7 days a week, right? But I
Okay.
was there faithfully, right, for
Mm,
Sunday morning service, Sunday
mhm,
school, and I was quiet. I
mm,
tend to sit in the back, or I sat with my friends, but I was still absorbing. I was like
mm,
a passive participant. Some people
mm,
they're involved in everything. They're running
right.
around, and that wasn't me. And so much of that, as I got older, so much of it, of what I learned in the church and watching my mom and my grandmother, it just consumed me, and it impacts how I move. It
Mm,
impacts the language I use, how
mm,
I respond to situations. And then my bishop, my church was pretty progressive. So we had stopped selling they weren't allowed to even sell chicken dinners and fish dinners. That
mm, mm. Right, right,
that
right,
wasn't something that we did. So it was a very progressive church and very pro education.
right.
Um, and so my bishop was very, very meticulous, right, with
Mm,
the
mhm,
programs. The church was magnificent by
mhm,
those standards at the time.
mhm,
And so using that as the standard, they talk about role models and modeling.
mhm,
So seeing that, and then having like a very strong, I'm blessed to have a very strong present father, a very
mhm,
strong present mother, and all of
mm,
that helped to define me.
mhm.
And so as I got older, I realized I knew scriptures that I didn't even know I knew
Right.
because I.
I say, but you know what's funny about that though? It's where I am now. Sometimes I'll say things and then I'll say, now where did that come from? Right? It came
Right,
from
right,
something like
exactly.
way back when I do
Yeah.
know what you're saying, right?
Yeah. So
Scriptures you remember.
that all helped define me, and I still pray faithfully. I love
Mm,
gospel music, but I'm very selective in gospel music. I
mm,
don't like, and this is everybody's personal choice.
yeah.
If I can't tell if you're singing about God or a man or a woman,
Mm,
I'm probably not going to listen to that song.
okay. There's a distinction for you.
There's a distinction for me. And that's because I
Mm.
grew up traditional. I grew up very, very, very traditional.
You still
And
carry
so
all those traditions? Do you find yourself being a little more flexible? I mean, things are really changing and moving. Are you still carrying all those Christian traditions?
unfortunately, a lot of them are still with. But I own it. I own it.
Right, right.
You know what I
No,
mean? I
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
So yeah, I'm pretty old school. I think
mm,
things are to be done a certain way, and
mm,
certain things you don't do. But I
mm.
love Yolanda Adams, so
Okay. Well,
that's my one of my all time favorite. But she can be a little jazzy in there sometimes. So
okay. It's that is interesting for me because I think we all have like different ways we grew up, right? In the
hmm
environment that we grew up, and then we
yeah,
still carry it forth. As I was saying, I find myself saying things, and I'm like, "Do you really believe that?" Right?
right.
Or
Uh-huh.
I was going through this whole thing about what is prayer,
hmm
right? And praying means something different for everyone. So
Yeah.
when you say like I pray all the time, what is
hmm
that like for you? When you say I pray all the time, what is
I
that
can
look like?
I can pray when I wake up, and I before I open my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I may be sitting on the train praying.
Okay.
I'm not
You're
prostrate,
not
and,
like down there on your knees and like
yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
At any given time, and I tell people when I say, "Oh, I'll pray for you," I say I'm one of those people that actually pray. I'm
Right.
not going to say it and then walk away from you and forget
Mm-hmm.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then recently, before a couple of personal matters came up within my family, we had started a Bible study on Mondays at 8 o'clock with my family,
Oh,
and we did it
okay.
on, of course, on Zoom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we would come in anywhere from 8 to 15 of us at a given
Oh,
time,
uh-huh.
and have Bible studies. So that helped me on my growth. And then like my youngest sister, she has grown exponentially, like in the Lord. And so
Mm.
just being there, sometimes just listening to her. And then my oldest sisters, I will always call her a Bible scholar, because whenever you say anything to her, she always say, back it up with scripture.
Mm.
Don't just come and tell me this is how I feel.
Right,
She's not now back it up with scripture.
right,
And so
okay.
that helped me to grow. That helped me
Mhm,
to grow.
mhm.
But I'm not a part of organized religion anymore.
Okay, that's why I said,
Yeah.
where is it now?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
right.
I tried going back into the building, and that
Mhm,
organized structure.
mhm,
It doesn't, it's not fitting with where I am right now,
mhm.
spiritually. I
Well,
believe in
what would you
God.
say the difference is? Yeah, right. What was the shift, and what would you say, caused this? Yeah, the shift.
I think it was the routineness of it all,
Mm,
just the same redundancy week after week, day after day,
mhm,
um and in some cases no growth.
mm,
How can
mm,
you talk about prosperity and talk about um he'll do exceedingly and abundantly, and you're still in the same situation you were 10 years ago?
mm, mhm, mhm,
Where,
mhm,
what didn't happen? And then I
mm,
realized that this is like a personal journey, and
mhm,
not defining people being in a better situation necessarily being financial, but also spiritually. Like
mhm,
you,
mhm.
okay, we're still fighting the same demon. Oh, so, and then of course, money is always an issue, right?
Right.
And I'm like,
Money.
oh my goodness, like what is all this? Where's all this money going? Jesus was born in a manger, like not in a mansion. Like,
Right.
so what is this push for all this money? So a
Mhm,
lot of that, kind of
mhm,
started making me rethink and redefine
mm.
not my belief in God, but my belief in, I guess,
Religion,
organized religion.
organized
Yeah.
religion. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that becomes a shift. And for me, as I hear what you're saying, you start to think about, okay, if we're talking about abundance, back it up with scripture, then where is
Hmm.
that abundance? How do you actualize that, right?
Hmm.
What does it really mean? Sometimes I feel that people just say scriptures, and I want to say, do you really know what that means? And
Right.
how is
Right.
that manifesting in your life
Uh-huh.
right now, right? How
Hmm.
do you relate to these scriptures
Right.
today, right?
Hmm.
And the Lord will make a way. Well,
Hmm.
what are you going to do in support of
In
making
support of
that
that.
way,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so it just gets like a little, and then not knocking anybody's belief or how
Hmm.
you connect with God. And people that say the Lord will make a way, they have that connection and a way will be made.
Yeah.
But there's something I feel, as you said, now you don't have this prosperity over here, but yet
Hmm.
still it's like talking prosperity from
Yeah. Or
biblical
it's only
standpoint.
reserved for a small group.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So you got 1,000 members, but only 40 are seeing the prosperity of it all.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So there
Yeah, so
are
that's where I was, and so it wasn't. I didn't leave with animosity or hatred. I still have high regards and respect for people who attend church. I don't say, "Oh, you're wasting your time going to church." That's not
Mhm.
me.
Mhm.
I if that works, what they say, if you like it, I love it. If it's
Right.
working for you and it's putting you in a better place mentally, physically, spiritually,
Mhm.
emotionally,
Mhm.
go for it.
Exactly.
Go for
Right.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that because I did find a church that I like in Harlem because I like the minister there. When he talks about the Bible, he makes it so relevant, right?
Hmm.
And then I like the praise and worship there because I love gospel music. So
Hmm.
I'll go. I haven't been to church, but that would be the church that I would go to. And I
Yeah.
go to Unity, and I like Unity. Unity. You know about Unity? Do you know it's what Unity is?
Yes, I'm familiar with Unity.
Unity,
Uh-huh.
right? So I go to the Unity Church, right? And I
Mhm.
like it because it's Bible based, but it's coming from a positive perspective and what actions you're taking, and it's
Mhm.
all. Um, that's what I really like about it. It's like not. It really explains how to take the Bible and make it work in your life.
in your life. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why like this show for me was really about creating a space where you could talk about religion, spirituality, and any questions that you have, and just a space where you could say, well, you know, that story about Jesus, help me understand it, right? You
Hmm.
know, or or
Yeah.
I don't quite get some of the um, aspects of Christianity. I'll just say that. And then having
Hmm.
a space where you could talk about it because we couldn't talk about it. When
Right.
I grew up, there was no room to really talk about it. There was no really room to disagree about it. So it's
Yeah. I was
really
going to say there was room to talk about it. There was no room to question it.
right. Right. So if you
You
couldn't
can talk
you
about
could
it all day. Just don't question it.
like you couldn't question it, then what are you
Because I'm
talking
still
about?
trying to figure out who Cain went and married after he killed Abel. If Eve was the only woman.
You still trying to figure that out, right? And that's what I mean with these stories, right? Oh, that is so funny,
So,
right? But it's true, right?
yeah.
I think we take it as what did we get from all of that? It's something we
Hmm.
got, because I always say you have a spiritual base, right?
Hmm.
Something you believe in, some base, something, because in the end, it's you and God or whoever you believe in, right?
Hmm.
Nobody's going to be with you in those moments when you have to really be with you, right?
Right.
So, whatever you call it, whatever spiritual base you have, right, can support you. And because I've studied all the different religions, I find that you can create a lot of different practices that can support you.
Yeah.
And basically, I mean, I grew up in the Christian church, and I still sing gospel music and all of that. I mean, I don't know a lot. I know the Bible a little bit, right? I was gonna say I
Uh,
don't know a lot about it, but I don't profess to be one of those people like back it up with scripture. I'm
yeah.
lost, right? Never be able to do that, but I'm okay
Yeah.
with what I know about the
Right.
Bible, right? Because I know enough to relate it to my life now and how I live my life now.
Hmm.
And then I look at like the law of attraction. I look at things like your thoughts create, because I'm looking at how are we manifesting the things in our lives, and it's
Right.
not like just about reading the Bible though, but it's about how we're thinking about it and how we are the energy forces that we put out. And
Hmm.
there's just so much more to it. And I said, let's say what? No, I said, no, but I was just talking about spirituality and all the different aspects to it,
Yeah.
right? One of the things that's always interesting for me, and I wonder if you have an experience with it, it's around youth and religion and spirituality, young people.
I think they're lacking. Many are lacking
Mm-hmm.
in spirituality. Um, and I don't fault them for that.
Mm-hmm.
As young people, I
Mm-hmm.
think that generation before our, maybe mine and maybe the one before us, we got a little lax there. With God, church. There's something to be said about studying whatever yet religion is, right? Whether or not it's Christianity, Islam, or whatever. There are some principles that come that transcends all of the religions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's some customs, some behavior, some expectations, some standards that are set, right? Now, you
Mm-hmm.
may grow out of them, you may grow in a different direction, but you at least have a root or a foundation. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, in my interactions, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying all young people, that's not what
Right,
I'm
right,
saying.
right.
My interactions and my encounters with individuals, there's a void there
Mhm.
that should have been filled through some form of Sunday school, Bible study, young people, willing workers, workshops, and things like
Yeah,
that.
something
Um,
right. Mhm.
yeah, so right now, so often, you'll see young people And I'm not talking about from the spiritual side, but just customs in terms of etiquette within a house of worship, regardless of what that house of worship, they don't know. And
Mm-hmm.
you can't fault people for what they don't know. And
Right.
it's not their fault. But
Mm.
so to me, it can be a little disheartening. But at the same time, I see a lot of brilliant young people, a lot of talented young people, and I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, that talent would go even further if they had this root and this foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I see it. But
Exactly.
it's not an indictment of all young people. Yeah.
Right. No, and I get that too. And I do know that in family churches still, they are encouraging the young kids
Hmm.
to come to church. But I also know there is this like lack of believing it all, right?
Hmm.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And you wonder with them not at a certain point not going to church and not embracing it younger than we did, because I would say I went to church until I left home, and when I went to college I dropped all of that, right?
Okay.
But,
Uh huh.
but I got it all from from
Yeah.
that point, right? And I
Hmm.
just look at even with the way we're evolving as adults, what are we teaching the kids? Even
Right.
with the
Hmm.
way we are saying, okay, so we grew up Christian in the church and everything, and now we're spiritual. So what are
Hmm.
we teaching the kids?
Hmm.
Right? And
Right.
I can
Right.
even look at my own daughter, because my transition was from I did no religion whatsoever. Then I did science of the her both. I would take her to the Unity Church, the Science of the Mind Church, and then when we would go to Memphis, she would go to the Christian church.
Hmm.
But so then she would go to Memphis in the summer, and that's when she would go to the Christian church, and that's when she wanted to get baptized and all that. Because I wasn't doing any of that really as she
Hmm.
grew up. I was doing science of the mind, right, and studying Ernest Holmes and those people.
Hmm.
But and down going home and being with family, we went to church every Sunday, and
Yeah.
when she was there, she went to church. So she got that on her own. So
Right.
it was just a mixture, and now she gets to create whatever works for her.
Okay.
But
What is this
both.
blocking my? Hold on. Oh, that's my hand. So
Oh, that's
what's
yeah,
going on?
no, you know
I'm in an
what's going
awkward
on with
place
my
where I'm not
development,
home,
right?
so I'm kind of in an awkward place
Right.
right now. So.
That's good. I know I don't know much about you other anything else. And I crack up and I laugh because what I do know about you I've seen on social media, because mostly we talk about work, we go out to lunch and we talk about work. So tell us about your sassy and maxed. No.
Oh.
And I'm a
Max and
technical
Sassy
person.
are my. Hold on, let me move this here. Okay, so this is better. Max and Sassy. So I have a toy poodle named Max, and he's looking at me right now. He just set up and like, "Did you say my name?" And I
Right.
have a tuxedo cat named Sassy,
Mhm.
um, and they are the joy of my life because I don't have children. I have a ton of nieces and nephews, but I don't have children.
Mhm.
So they keep me going.
Mhm.
Um, I
Max
got
was 5. I think there was a story how Max came into your life.
Yeah, so I lost my mom in 2016. I bought a house in 2016. And I'm coming home every day and I'm like, I'm tired of coming home to this empty house, right?
Mhm.
And it's cheaper than a significant other, right? So less headaches. So
Right.
I ended up getting Max, and my mom's name was Maxine, so I named him
Oh.
Maximilian in
Mhm.
honor of her. And so that's how Max came about. And then Sassy, um, I wasn't comfortable with Max being home alone, and dogs can be very expensive. So I said, okay, so I need to get some kind of playmate and a companion or whatever for him. And one of the security guards actually brought me a cat because one of the neighbors had a litter.
Mm.
And so he brought the cat home, brought the cat to me, and said, got something for you." And it's just been magical ever since. So I love both of them dearly, dearly.
Right.
So,
It's really interesting to see the cat and the dog together. I find that like really interesting how they get together, and it is like a playmate, right? That's what I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing, oh, the one thing about the pet is what I love is that pets can really, really save you or support you
Yes.
whatever you're
Yes.
going through, right? Whenever,
Yes.
yeah, and I feel, and during COVID, a lot of people said their pets were their saviors, their
Yes.
pets, because that's all they had. So I have
Mm-hmm.
two pets. I'm a pet lover, so that's why I bring it up. I have
Oh,
two
okay.
dogs, right?
Okay.
Um,
What type of dogs?
I had one is a Chihuahua mixed with something, and then
Okay.
the other one is a Chihuahua mixed with Jack Russell. So I
Okay.
thought it was going to be a little dog like the little one, and it's a big dog. So
Okay.
it's China and Bella, and I never thought that I would have pets, right?
Okay.
Because I was so busy. You can't have a pet. You got to take care of it. You got to do this. You
Yes.
got to do that. But they have stolen my heart. I even cook food for them. Right,
Mm-hmm.
every week I make their food, and I'm just like, I started doing it during COVID. Right, so now I cook for them, and it's just so exciting to love them and have them. So I
Yeah.
think pets. That's a great spiritual practice. I'll call it right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
They're therapeutic, right? They can be
Yes,
therapeutic.
yeah, that's a
They
good
love
word.
unconditionally.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
they need you, right? And it's we all want to be needed
Mhm.
by something or someone, right? So
Exactly.
it serves a lot of purposes, and they're just a joy to watch too.
They really, really are. So, I know you had mentioned earlier that about praying and gospel music. Talk, how I talk about the spiritual toolkit, right? And the
Hmm.
spiritual toolkit is personal for everybody. Talk about the top three practices that pretty much work for you consistently in your toolkit, because I'm sure there are many practices, right?
Well, prayer is just key, and just having faith, just starting off with from a point of faith.
Mm-hmm.
I think is very, very important. I do believe in always taking the high road,
Mm.
no matter how things go. I always try to stay above, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, taking the high road. And then I'm always reminded of a scripture because I was we were laughing. I was talking to someone. I was known as Joe Go to lunch with anybody at my last job, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
could see me at lunch with a student, you could see me at lunch with a vice president, you could see me at lunch with the director of um, diversity affairs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people say, well, how did you do that? And I said, one of my favorite scriptures has always been, I think it's Habakkuk 13:3. I will make your feet as hinds feet and cause you to walk among the high places. And I think that gave me a boldness because think about it, you cannot walk along a mountain in fear. So
Right.
if you're in the high places, you got to have steady feet. You got to be steady
Mm-hmm.
in your belief and strong in your belief. Because
Mm-hmm.
one tumble, one trip, and you're going over the side of that high place, that
Right,
cliff,
right.
that mountain. And so
Mm-hmm.
those are things that I always try to keep in mind. Pray,
Mm-hmm.
always take the high road,
Mm-hmm.
and be reminded that he will make my feet as hinds feet and cause me to walk among the high places. And as a result, I have met some wonderful prominent individuals, and not so, people maybe not as prominent but are, in my view, significant individuals, because I've met like some of the most dynamic people I've met, and I consider it high places still, is like that brilliant person that got their GED at 42, right? But when
Mm-hmm.
you're talking to them, they're just pure brilliance. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Mm-hmm.
to me that all comes together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, you're talking to a doctor or a lawyer, a friend of yours, or whatever. And so all of those pieces come together. So I see value, um, I would say, in just about everybody I've met. You know, I can't think of someone that I regret meeting them.
Right,
Right.
right, 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 right.
I wish
Mm-hmm.
that paths had never crossed. Even in negative experiences, something positive tends to come out of it. You know, you find
Mhm.
something in it. And I used to get mad because one of my coworkers, and talk about the spiritual journey.
Mhm.
She would when I got to the BOC, I was, a bit younger, right? And I
20
was
years
also,
ago, right?
yeah, 20 years ago, and I was hot headed.
Right.
And the one counselor would say to me when things would go wrong or I would be upset, she would always say, what was in it for you? Oh, all I know is that they're dumb and they're stupid and they
Mhm.
didn't know what they were doing. And
Mhm.
then she's like, no, what was in it for you?
Mm.
And then I had to start looking at each situation differently and saying, what was what was the lesson for me?
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
was I supposed to learn in this encounter? You know,
Mhm. Mhm.
how is everybody dumb but you? Right.
Right.
you know,
Right, right,
you
right,
know,
right.
that because that's how I was thinking. And so
Mhm.
with that, it allowed me to grow tremendously. Grenetta, can I put my camera off so I can put this phone on the charger?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm
so
still here, right?
yeah.
Putting the phone on the
I'm
charger,
sorry. Like I said, I don't want to expose too much.
right? Right. Right. You got to get a boost, right? But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
in talking about spiritual practices, right? Um, we each have different things that work for us. I like yours, prayer. You mentioned faith, right? And I've been talking about faith lately a little bit with different people because understanding having faith and what that means. So the other day, I think I was on social media and I saw this post that said like blind faith, right? And I guess we lost him. And we see blind faith, right? And as I looked at it, I was like, oh, okay, so faith is blind anyway, right? So when you put blind in front of faith, what are you really saying? So I got into this whole dialogue about that understanding. And so you know how when we want to now these days we go and we Google everything. So I'm like,
hmm
let me Google blind faith, right? When I Google blind faith, it's a group, right? Or
Okay.
song, right? So,
Right.
right, but what has been your experience with blind faith? Have you heard that though, right?
Yeah. Blind faith. Um, I guess it's just undeniable belief that God will do what God's going to do, and that I have faith that it will all work for my good. And I just believe it. I just believe it.
Believe it, yeah. And
Yeah,
that's their faith.
I
That's
had I had
go
a
ahead.
situation. Um, I guess it's like 3 weeks ago,
Mhm,
and one of my sisters had taken very, very ill,
mhm,
and another sister called me. She's ready to cry. I said, "Oh no, 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 we're not doing that," because
mhm,
he's ready to cry. I said, "No, no, no, we're not doing that." I said, "First of all, you're a praying woman,
mhm, mhm,
so I need you to begin praying,
mhm,
and I'm going to do the same thing." And
mhm.
I am happy to say that my sister is off the ventilator.
Wow.
I've been able to spend some time with her, but I
Mhm,
just had faith. I said, I don't believe that this is God's time for her. But I had
mm,
I'm not God. I don't know what, but I just had faith
mhm,
that she was going to pull through.
mhm.
And we have to have that faith. The Bible talks about faith the size of a grain of mustard seed. I'm not sure if you can get any smaller than a mustard seed, right? So
Exactly, right. And that's all we need is that small amount. But
that
I
that
also say that you could have doubt the size of a mustard seed too, and
that
it'll knock you out, right?
it'll knock you out. Yes, exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's like the both of them go together.
hmm
When we talk about just a little bit of faith is all you need,
It's all you
right?
need.
Yeah. So it's been really good chatting with you today. We lost your beautiful face, but we can still hear you, right?
Great, great. Yes.
Right. And so, what would you like to share? Oh, at the end. You good? You gone?
No, I'm good. I just, whoever is listening and watching, keep
Mm-hmm.
the faith.
Keep the faith.
Keep the faith. Keep the faith. And, be mindful of what thoughts you allow in and out of your mind and your spirit. Wake up thinking to the positive.
Mm-hmm.
And, whatever that situation is, and for most of us, and my father said this to me years ago when I had bad credit. And,
What you
and
say?
and I'm trying to, figure out how to get out of this. And he said, "You didn't get in this situation overnight, and you're not going to get out overnight."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I tell people to just pace yourself, set these short term goals for yourself, whether or not it's losing weight or going back to school or improving something in your life. Just take it day by day,
Mm-hmm. Right.
day by day, and let God do the rest. Do your best and let God do the rest.
Mhm. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so
All
much
righty.
for joining me tonight, and I will definitely be in touch. And maybe we can go out to lunch soon since things are opening up a
So
bit.
things are opening up. Yes. Is it called the corner social or the social corner? Is that
Corner
still open?
social, it never went out, right? Everything
Okay.
just built sidewalk huts. Everybody just built a sidewalk hut, right?
Okay.
And they're open.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Because
So
I enjoyed that place when we went, so I enjoyed
yeah,
it tremendously.
it's still there. So we'll have to go again.
Yeah. All right. Well,
All
take
right.
care. Have
You
a great
too.
evening.
You too.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye. So, thank you for joining me tonight on Conversations with Reverend G, right here on WEMS Radio every Monday night from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Join me each week with guests from different walks of life. We talk about spirituality, we talk about life, and we talk about love. It's been a pleasure having you join us tonight, and I'd like to leave you tonight with faith. What does faith mean to you? You can find me every day on Facebook as Reverend Grenetta Mason and on Instagram as Rev Grenetta and on YouTube. I will see you again next week at 8 p.m. right here on WEMS Radio. And you can find us live on Facebook on the WEMS app and on YouTube. Have a great, great week.